Okay. This is a random Sunday afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Um, I am, decided to go live for a few minutes. I know you guys are busy, but much love to the fam. Don't forget to like or subscribe and all the things. But I did have time, so since I got time, I figured I would kind of come out because I normally don't do lives like I used to, but you listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast, and this is student enrollment. We're about to get into a new semester, into a new um, season. Okay, we just got through doing the winery mix. Check it out, the winery. We had quite a few questions dealing with serious, dealing with the kings versus the pharaohs versus the priests. Check it out. We also did some quality work, so I'm looking forward to it. Now, this semester is a little different. We're going to get into um, the Queens of the South. Okay, the Queens of the South. We're going to use this book, The First Female Pharaoh. Okay, Sebek Neferu. But before we get into that, though, before we do that, we have a humble request. We're about to do Black History Month. Black History Month is in February, so we're going to push back uh, the Queens of the South for late March. Okay, but um, but yeah, if you have any Black History suggestions, any content or concepts, don't forget, just put it in the chat. But somebody asked me why why I put this podcast together. Really simple. I am a teacher. I'm a high school teacher by trade, so I'm a history teacher, and I've been doing it for 11 years. Okay, and more specifically, I teach social studies. I teach history. I chose. Everybody else chose math or science, but I chose history as my profession. So so this is my thing. And since I was young, I wanted to teach. And yeah, it took me the long way to get there, but I got there, right? And so I got my degree, I got my certification, and now I'm teaching not only the content, but I'm also teaching other teachers. I am what you would call a mentor teacher. So this podcast is not just me rambling and talking. This is me doing the work and research and pulling resources that I've known to use to convey a message. Um, this podcast exists because the courses that are out there aren't really for us by us, right? So I decided to develop my own, and is leaning towards African history, of course, for sure, because I love African history. I love Kemet and Kush, and I've done things outside of the Nile Valley. I've talked about the Nok people. I talked about the people in Senegal. Shout out to the family in Ghana, Nigeria, and so, but people are asking questions, and it kind of brings us back to Ethiopia, bring us back to Nubia, Sudan, and Kemet. So uh, I really am excited about what we're going to do. Um, I know Big Brother Mo, he asked about the now Civil War. We will talk about that. There has been some issues between different kings and whatnot, and they they didn't agree, so they threw hands. It was not just in the pharaonic period. It happened in Nubia. It also happened in Ethiopia. Okay, but this is different. You guys are making it better, and so I really appreciate that. You guys are commenting. You guys are asking questions, and I'm very appreciative of that. So the reason why we're doing this this way is I think some people they do lectures, which is fine, but the way I do it, I have my PowerPoints, and I do it the way I teach the high school kiddos. So um, that's how I get down. Now, the purpose for it um, is to bring a new idea, a new perspective on African history. We hear the same things, we get the same commentary. So the study of history is fundamental to understanding the global history. So in order for us to understand the world, we need to understand ourselves. So it's often been neglected. It's often been overlooked, omitted. So we have to be okay with studying ourselves. So it seeks to remedy that by offering a comprehensive exploration of Africa's contribution to the whole world. So, and of course, Africa is home to some of the earliest human civilizations. So, it's best. It's always good to go back to the source. It's always good to have that conversation. And so, to deal with the culture, to deal with scientific achievements, to deal with not only the good stuff, we got to deal with the bad stuff too. I have mentioned there have been times where the slave trade was amplified because we was enslaving ourselves. We can't gloss over that. We can't do that. So we have to. We just can't say. And I'll be a terrible teacher just to say this group of people is wrong and this other group is perfect. That's not fair, right? So um, we have to be okay with telling the whole story. Okay, and so um, this is what the semester is about. We're going to talk about that. And of course, we're going to make it relevant. Of course, we always do. You guys always have made it enjoyable, pretty interesting, and so we're going to equip. My plan is to equip you guys to either make history your own. You know, you find little nuances of your own personal history and study that, or you would share with other people. You know, it. I can't just do this by myself. You have to, there have to be other people to pick that up and push it along. Yeah, and so I, it, I want to foster critical thinking. There have been people that disagree with me, and I learned from that. I did the research. I said, "Yeah, you're right," or "I don't know." It's okay. It's okay, right? So my job is to equip you guys with a nuanced understanding of Africa's past. Okay. I don't get too far off the beaten path into the nuances of different things, different skirmishes and battles and stuff like that. I kind of or into the gray areas of maybe or could be. But what we should do is get the information, get the facts, and present it the best way we can. So that's the idea. So in a globalized world, our understanding is of Africa's history is very important. And so it's vital. So whether students are interested in international, whether you guys are interested in like the international phenomenon, dealing with trade, dealing with economics, or even just um, learning how other cultures operate, we got to understand what Africa's about. We got to understand that Africa, with its 54 countries, is very diverse. And so that's one. So yeah, we got to make our history relevant, and we got to focus on the continent. So we got to focus on the continent. All right. And if you are in here, don't forget to let me know where you're from, by the way. Tell me where you're from. And I got a question. Uh, I got a question. If you are in the States, there is two things for breakfast that we normally would have. Okay. Before I get to the second thing, there's two things that we normally would have. Either you are Greek, are you into grits? Are you team grits or oatmeal? I want to know. Okay, let me know. Team grits or oatmeal. Put that in a comment. Let me know, and let's argue about that. Okay. So Africa's relevance. Next thing is the overall continent itself. It's huge. The ethnic groups are vast. Even there's nuances among this. It could be Europe, but there's variance in that. So yeah, we have discussed prehistoric Africa as well as the early civilizations. We discussed that. We dealt with the exploration, dealing with the cradle of humanity, and and how the Nile Valley goes from the south to the north, from the mountains of the moon all the way up to the Mediterranean. We had the discussion. Um, we did we talked about civilizations, not just Egypt, but Nubia. We talked about Chad. Shout out to the family in Chad. Shout out to the family in Cameroon. We talked about these various regions because we used the book. Where's the book? Can't find it right now. But we dealt with we do book studies. So we went through the book, The Lost Cities of Africa, and that book by Basil Davidson. It dealt with the regions, the various major regions in Africa, and in those areas, you have major civilizations that are not really that people are not really privy to. So that that alone gets us a better understanding that this continent is large, and we gotta embrace it. So, um, so once we got out of the lost cities of Africa about a year ago, we went into um, the wonderful Ethiopians and the ancient Kushite Empire, which we spent a lot of time dealing with Ethiopia and Kush and its influence on the world. We get it. We can talk about Kemet, but we we got to deal with. We had to embrace Meroe. We had to embrace um, the people of Sudan. We have to embrace Axum or um, and everything that goes with it. So we spent some time doing that. So the Nile Valley is very that 4,000 mile range is pretty in depth. Okay, so um, and that's where we are. So we got out of Ethiopia. Now the sisters was asking, okay, what are we going to deal with now? So I thought about highlighting some of the queens of the Nile Valley, not just the queens of Kemet, not just Hatshepsut, not just Nefertari or Queen Tayi, but we there's other queens. And the thing is, dealing with the queens, dealing with the queens of Egypt, they weren't just queens and they were married to the pharaoh. No, they had their own. They were the queens of the north and south. They had their they was entrusted with power. Okay, so they was on the same level playing field as the Insubiti or the pharaoh of Egypt. Had the same amount of power. They weren't just the lady that's married to the guy. Okay, the queen had power. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss the process of how they became queen, and we may get into our top five. So dealing with the queens of the South, we're going to deal with the first female pharaoh for sure, but the top five queens, and also, oh, forgot about that. There in this book here, um, Ancient Records of Egypt, Volume 1, really good. It talked about the Temple of Isis, which is located by the pyramid. So we're gonna discuss that. We're gonna discuss some of the priestesses also. So the queens of the South, we're gonna get involved with that. That's gonna be next March, but Black History Month is February, so we're gonna get down with that. We're gonna deal with that. But it's very important that we address these things. Okay. But if you have any questions or concerns, or if you have a topic that you want us to get into or to deal with, let me know. Okay. So the approach, how we're going to do this. Um, Normally I do the videos, I normally do the recordings, but there will be times when we go live in a few weeks. We'll do another one on January 31st. We'll do why studying the 21st century Black history is important. We'll talk about that. But normally it's videos, okay? And I try to do them once a week. Try to do them like on a Tuesday, post them out, roll them out like Tuesday, Tuesday morning. So it's very important that you get the information. So I feel that like once a week is good. If I post twice a week, chances are it's a podcast. It's the audio. of a recent topic. Okay. And this is a safe place. Okay. My platform, I encourage dialogue, but I don't allow disrespect. Okay. We can be disagreeable, we can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable, right? I want this to be a brave space for everybody to contribute, for everybody to share. Yeah. So um that's how we do. We do videos, and my videos, except for like this one, is slideshow. So I do slides. I do PowerPoint presentations. So that's how I do it. So I like to add visuals to what I'm saying. All right, and so, but got a few more minutes before, because I know the game is happening, right? So I know somebody's playing somebody, and so matter of fact, I got a text from Brother Mo. He said he is at dinner with his family. Family is important. So shout out to him. Shout out to all you guys. I really appreciate you guys we've been doing this for 4 years. Yeah, it's been it's, God, it's been that long. So, but we got many more years to go. But I want you guys to grasp some of this information and share with somebody else. That's what it's about. It's not just hoarding information. I know a lot of cats out there that would know information just to say they know it. Do something with that information. Okay, do something with the things that you've learned, right? So hopefully, as an introduction of African history, which this what it is, um, I want us to get a better understanding, be empathetic, and have cultural awareness and global citizenship. We are people of the world. Like somebody said on one of the videos, you are in the world, and we got to be respectful. We got to be kind, and we got to be understanding. Okay, so we want to contribute to what's going on. Okay, so as an ongoing effort to address historical injustices by highlighting Africa's rich heritage and resilience, it my goal is to counter the stereotypes, because there are even issues among ourselves that we got to address, right? So it's not just academic behavior. And if you hear sounds, is my daughter, she is cleaning the kitchen at about 3 something. So that's what that is. So, so but it's not just this is not just academic exercise. This is what we do here. Okay, it's not just book hoarding. And speaking of books, I'll show you a few of them. But it's not just book hoarding. It's not just gathering information, right? And so why this is important, we'll get into that in a second. But it's not just gathering information, but a step towards reclaiming our place as Africans in the diaspora. Okay, and so my goal is to empower you guys and to encourage you guys to love yourself and love history. And so here's a couple of reasons why this podcast is important, is to reclaim our narrative. Okay. For centuries, African history has been distorted or sidelined by other views, other perspectives. So this course or this podcast here empowers it. It gives us time to explore history from our perspective on our own terms, right? And so also understanding global interconnection. Okay, so Africa is central to global trade, migration, and cultural exchange for centuries. And so, from say the trans-Saharan trade, the Silk Road, all the way up to now, we are part of what's going on. Much love to the family in Congo. Um, if it weren't for the Congo, we wouldn't have these. Okay, and so we got to understand that. That's the reason why the fam in Mali, in Chad, in Burkina Faso, and many other places are getting together and saying, "Hey, we're not going to take this anymore." Okay. Also, not only so we got, you know, reclaiming our narrative, understanding global interconnection, promoting cultural diversity. Africa is home to over 3,000 ethnic groups. It's a lot of different groups. I told you there's variance even among the Yoruba, right? There's Hausa, there's different kinds of Hausa. There's Hausa on one end in Senegal, and they handle things different than the Hausa, say, in Sudan, right? So, and they have over 2,000 languages, making it one of the most culturally diverse uh, regions in the world. Okay. And so by studying and by getting to know our history, it helps us appreciate the diversity and develop empathy as to what's going on. Shout out to Baba Yahya Shabaka. He's over there in Morocco, and he has a different perspective than I do, being in Texas. So it's good to get everybody's understanding, right? And it also challenges stereotypes and racism. Okay, so misconceptions about Africa is often fueled by stereotypes and systemic racism by highlighting Africa's achievements, such as, say, the advanced civilization, scientific innovations, and resistance movements. So we can, by getting the information, we can challenge these stereotypes and racism. And last thing, equipping you guys for tomorrow. Okay. I know some of you guys are the same age as I am, a little bit older, but you guys, our goal is to plant, um, like a wise person said, to plant trees that we may not sit under. So we we have the potential to share what's going on now, but also share with somebody else and share with the youth of tomorrow. Okay, but yeah. So thank you for coming through. Thank you for listening. But yeah, in a few weeks we will kick off Black History Month. We get in on it, and we're gonna go back live on the 31st, and we're gonna discuss why should we study 21st century African history. We're gonna go live and do that. In the month of February, we're gonna deal with topics of Black history, Black history during Black History Month. Also, it's, for the Queens of the South, Queens of the North and South, we're going to get in on this. But this book caught my attention. That's the reason I saw this at Pan African Bookstore in Dallas. I said, I want to know what this is about. So we're going to learn together, right? I'm very excited about the first female pharaoh, Sebeth Neferu. Yeah, we're going to get in on it. So, what else do I have? Of course, a lot of people may disagree, but the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Book of Coming Forth by Day, by E.A. Wallace Budge. There's other materials out there. That's fine. That's cool. But to do what I need to do, that's what it is. Of course, you got to get Stolen Legacy. If you don't have that, you need to get that. Okay, that's very important. Sacred Science is a good one. Sacred Science is a good one, y'all. Sacred Science, check that out. Now, because I know in the previous podcast I discussed how the people in Sudan, in Nubia, had some information concerning they aligned monuments and not the playa with the with the constellation of Taurus. This is the book, because somebody asked, how did the people of Kemet and the Dogon people, where did they get this information from? It came from the South, and this book really broke that down. Yeah, it's really good. It's very eye opening, and this was another one, Secret Chamber by Robert Bauval. It deals with the chambers under the Haru Imaket, or the Sphinx. Okay, and it also talks about how the star Sirius and the pyramids are in line, with those constellations. So, yeah. So what else? I have a lot of books, so and all of them I did read. And there's some up here behind me, and this is another good one. I like this one, Martin and Malcolm in America, A Dream or Nightmare by James Cone. This is really good. If you're in modern history, this is what's up. It talks about it breaks them down, breaks Martin and Malcolm from a psychological standpoint. It really, if it basically begs the question, what if? What if Martin lived in the condition out in the open in the middle of nowhere like Malcolm did, and then flipped it and say, okay, what if Malcolm lived in a cultural incubator in Atlanta where everybody was black, everybody prominent was black? How would he have came out? How would they have came out? Right? So yeah. What else? This is The World in Africa by W.E.B. Du Bois. This is good. This is good. But yeah, so if you don't have, I don't want to hold you. If you don't have any, okay. If you are here, much love to the fam. I really appreciate you guys. We are about to kick off a new season. Shout out to the fam that's joining. I really appreciate you. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm about to got a few more minutes before I call it. But if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. But shout out to the fam. We got a few things come. Oh, I forgot. We got 2 interviews. We got a couple interviews loading. A couple of people asked to be on, and they're very wonderful people, great people. Mr. Gales and another brother who's going to talk about mental health. So Mr. Gales, he's another teacher where I'm from, and he's going to talk about why should we study African history. I gotta get you guys the date on that, but it's happening. So I do have some interviews lined up. Keep people coming in, chiming in, want to get in on the conversation. But if there are no questions or concerns, I really appreciate you guys coming, and this has been a great journey. It went from me being a history teacher to a mentor teacher and saying, hey, I want to put African history, I want to put it in a way that people can understand. That was the idea. Somebody asked, what was my goal? My goal was to bridge the gap between you not knowing anything about African history to bridging the gap to moving you up to, say, the Francis Welsings of the world, the Dr. Benz of the world. It was that intermediate area where I can kind of give you tidbits and give you a little bit of information, and then you have that, and then you go on to the next level. But I really appreciate you guys, and if there is nothing else, I will talk to you later. And somebody asked about Sirius Part 2. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Somebody asked about Sirius, about the Dogon people and Sirius. We're going to get into that. That is next, matter of fact, coming up next Tuesday. I'm going to post that. Somebody asked about Sirius C. Did you know that there's 3 stars and not just 2? We heard of Sirius A and B, but there is a Sirius C, and I'm going to talk about that. And the Dogon people knew about it. Yep, they knew about it, and they was telling people, hey, we've been telling y'all this. And so Sirius A is Sigi Tolo, Sirius B is Potolo, and we'll get the name for Sirius C on Tuesday. But somebody asked about Sirius C. We're gonna lean into it, and don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people ask questions in the comment. You guys comment, and I say, let's get into it. Let's look at it. There are things that I want to talk about. I try to put them in between that, but you guys are the most important. If you guys want to know something, let us know. All right. And but once again, it's King Cam Ujumbe podcast, and this is student enrollment. We are about to do. We're about to get into Black History Month and the Queens of the South, and I will talk to you guys later. 2 of them.